Welcome back, Java Geeks. And today we will be seeing that if we have a string which contains digits, for example, if we have a string like 1, 2, 3, 4, but as a string, then how we can convert that string to integer form. So to solve this problem, there are many libraries out there which has classes who can solve this particular problem. But our main objective is that we don't want to import those libraries just because to solve these tiny things, if you import external libraries, then it will affect our performance. So we don't want to do that. So whatever utilities we have inside Java, we will use that to solve this problem. So there are mainly two ways through which we can solve this. So let's see our first method. So if we have a string like this 1, 2, 3, 4. So here to convert our string to integer, we will be using a class called integer class, in which we have one static method called parseInt. So let's use this class. So you can see the package name is java.lang, which is inbuilt into Java. So let's use this and we'll call this parseInt. And if you see that what parameter it is expecting a string type. So here we'll pass str, and this method parseInt, it will return primitive type integer. So we have to store this value like this, and let's print that value. And if you execute that, then you will see value as in 1, 2, 3, 4. But there is one problem with this method is we have to care about the boundary cases. So let's assume if we have a string which contain some special character as well along with digit like this, right? It has a $sign. Then if you try to execute this code right now, it cannot pass a special character like $. So it will throw an exception, number format exception. Okay. Similarly, if we have let's assume if we have decimal numbers. So in this case also you will have number format exception. And now let's take another example. Let's say if you have this string. So even though in this string we don't have any special character, but even after that it will not pass. It will throw an exception. And the reason being is the value in this string is far beyond of the maximum limitations of the integer, right? So if you execute this, then you will see number format exception. So what we need to do, we have to handle this kind of exception. You might have guessed it that we have to use try catch block. So I'll put this piece of code under try, and then for exception I will handle like this, where let's assume I'm printing a message. And now if you execute this, then you can see we are printing this message, number is not valid. And now let's talk about our second method. So this was the first method, right? So in second method, we can use same class, but inside that class this time we will be using valueOf static method. This one here also it will expect a string as an parameter, right? And now you must be wondering that what is the difference between this and the previous method call. So the only difference is that the parseInt static method will return primitive type integer, but this method will return a integer object. So instead of primitive types, it will return integer object. So if you wanted to perform any inbuilt operation like toString, you can do that. Let's say if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, then it will print 1, 2, 3, 4 as in a string. So this is a string now. Okay, but if you print only this, then it will be printing integer value. So far in both methods we have not used any external libraries, right? But for a second, let's assume that you are not bothering about the performance right now. I mean, you are okay to import 1 or 2 libraries. So if that is the case, then I would suggest you, before executing this particular operation like valueOf call or parseInt call, before calling that, just make sure that the string which you wanted to convert to integer, that particular string is convertible or not. So right now what is happening, that let's say if you are passing any illegal string, right, let's say dollar along with this. So if you're passing this, then you're trying to pass it, and while doing that operation you are getting an exception, and then you're capturing that exception in your catch block, and then you are printing that number is not valid, right? So in other words, I can say that we were able to identify that number is not valid only when we got exception. And being a good programmer, we have to avoid exceptions, right? So that is only possible if you'll put this execution inside some if checks. So what we'll do, we will use one external library, this Apache common lang, and inside that we have one method called NumberUtils, and then through this we can call this to static method to check whether that particular string is convertible or not. So let's start with isCreatable, and here what we have to do, we have to pass that string, and let's say we are defining reference variable outside here. And now if you'll execute this, then with the same input, this time we'll not get exception. And in this case, if you wanted to print any message without exception, then we can do that. So let's say you are saying that string is not a proper number. This assignment is unnecessary, so let's remove this. And now if you'll execute, then we will see this message, string is not a proper number, right? And alternate to this, we have isParsable as well. In this case also, it will not pass this string, and it again will see this message. But now you must be thinking that if you are handling so well, then why we need this try catch block? So there are some exception in this. Anyway, we have handling like this is always good, but if we have a string like this long string, so calling isParsable or isCreatable method on this particular string, it will return true, where we will definitely will throw an exception. So that particular situation we have to handle, right? So that is the reason that why we are keeping try catch block here. Okay, so that's all guys for today. I hope that you liked this tips and tricks video as well. And if you're a new user, then please subscribe our channel. We need you. And while doing that, so please hit the bell icon as well.